Love is a way of building to a crescendo. Ride if you will, ride it with me.
Good morning. How you doing? So, I don't know if I mentioned this. Well, I mentioned the fact that we went down to my grandparents' house for 10 days and cleaned up everything. I'll flash some pictures up. We filled, I would say, the better part of 3/4 of a 20-yard dumpster full of everything. Some stuff it was really hard to pitch, some stuff not so hard to pitch. We donated a bunch of quilting stuff to all of the quilting places around the city down there, to the point where they're like, I don't know if we should be accepting this much stuff. That was books at the library. We donated stuff to the Veterans Association down there, medical stuff that was in the house, lots of different stuff like that. But this is a juicer. Before we get into the other stuff, this is a juicer. I do not know who bought this for my grandparents. I do know that they used it once, probably to squeeze orange juice, and then put it back in the box. Wash it up as best they could and then put it back in the box. I've cleaned it thoroughly. I can see where some of the orange juice residue has eaten through the metal here. But it is the biggest juicer I have ever seen. It kind of slots in like that. So there's little grooves there, and then it doesn't come out at all, which is really kind of nice. And then the whole apparatus sits in here. There's a way to slide it in and a way to lock it in, actually, which is kind of interesting. And then you put your fruit, whatever you got, and then you push. Bam. And it all goes down. And then whatever fits down here, be it a boat or a sink or a cup, you know, that's your orange juice or your lime juice, which I'm planning on using it for when I start making key lime pies again. I think this will be better than the hand-squeezed one. I always feel like I've got a little left in the thing. This is all metal. This is holy crap, heavy metal. The Ozzy Osbourne of may he rest, of juicers, because it's heavy metal. It's just absolutely amazing. And it's got this stopper here for the handle, so you can't go too far and bend anything. It's got rubber on it. The handle's got rubber on it. I am really surprised. This thing must not be, 10 years old, 12 years old, because the rubber pieces here have not started to break down. They're not weirdly tacky or anything like that. They're still very solid and very, you're able, well, don't do that, but you're able to, not get sticky all over your hands. And this piston and this is all metal. This appears to, okay, so I do need to screw some stuff in. That's an Allen wrench. This is all put together with an Allen wrench, it looks like. So I'll be, I guess I'll be adjusting some stuff, because yeah, that does need to screw in a little bit. And it has to screw in through the middle. These are decoration, I guess. But yeah. We went down when in February, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I pulled it out of one of the closets, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a juicer. Oh, geez, I could use a juicer. And then now I have a juicer. I sent it up here in the mail. Yeah, that side seems to be loose, so yeah, that definitely needs to be tightened up a lot, which I will take care of. I don't even know how it got loose. Maybe it didn't get put together well. I don't know. It's hard to say with a lot of the stuff that we pulled out of that house and threw away. So, oh God, 10 days. 10 days of being in Florida is enough to make anyone tired, if I'm honest. Let's see here. I'm gonna work this just a little bit. If anyone knows the type of grease I should use to lube this up, let me know. If it could use a little grease, I don't know. I do know that it's still working perfectly, and I'm so happy that I actually have this device. So, anyway, yeah, it was 10 days. We got there, and then we had everything bagged up that we felt needed to be bagged up for ease of transport into the bin. Probably on, I think that was done Saturday and Sunday. Monday, we did a little bit more stuff, but I don't think we did as much labor-intensive stuff. Just kind of getting stuff around to where we had paths in order to get through the house. And then on Tuesday, the dumpster arrived. Dumpster Sharks, I think that's who it was in Ocala. Good dude. Amazing parking skills. Dropped that thing exactly where we wanted it. It was, I mean, you don't expect any less, but still, watching people who are incredibly skilled at what they do what they do, is a treat, and you're like, my God, you did that amazingly, and it's like, of course they did it amazingly, it's their job, but still at the same time, oh my God, you did it amazingly. So there was so we did that. So that got there on Tuesday. The realtor also showed up on Tuesday. Scale? Is there something you want to talk about? You want to talk about what's going on here? Do you need a battery? Probably need a battery. Whoa. Yeah, nah, whatever. Okay, damn goofy thing. Anyway, all right. So I'm doing the badass coffee from Hawaii because there was a badass coffee in Clearwater. When we went to Clearwater for, I don't know, about 4 or 5 hours. The Gulf is beautiful. The Gulf of Mexico is an amazing place to be, and the water is like bath water there. But and I understand why, but there were so many people there. On top of that, the constant storms that have been happening have churned up a lot of seaweed. So there was a lot of seaweed in the part of the Gulf of Mexico where we kind of stopped. So, which was kind of on us because we walked up the beach a little bit further, and there was much less seaweed as you went north on the beach. So Clearwater is a beautiful place. There's a lot of wonderful places to go and shop. We just happened to get there maybe 3 hours before a storm hit. And then when we got to the restaurant to sit down, the storm actually hit. And we were driving back up to Ocala in a rainstorm. Which, in Florida, it's just kind of what happens, isn't it? But yeah, the rainstorms down there have been pretty consistent and epic with their thunder and their lightning. Hey, buddy, what you doing? We're waiting for they're waiting for the lawnmowers to come back around. The lawnmowers scare the hell out of them every time, and it's really a necessary aggravation. We'll put it that way. But yeah, Badass Coffee had a store in Clearwater, which I'm like, that's awesome. And I pointed out to Tyra, my Aunt Tyra and Mom. I told her that, this was the stuff that we found in Tennessee. They have a shop in the Vanderbilt area, basically across from the Children's Hospital down there, because the Belcourt where we went to is in that area as well. And we kind of walk up and down that road, and they had a Badass Coffee there. And I'm like, ooh, Hawaiian coffee. And there it was again. So that's in Clearwater, which is pretty cool. However, Clearwater, very hot. Not pretty cool at all. It was very hot. Anyway, so the whole experience was it was rough. We drove to the National Cemetery, the Florida National Cemetery in Bushnell. is the name of the city where the cemetery is. And it is a gigantic. It's the second largest in the United States, and I think the largest one they said was in California. But the sheer size and scope of this place that had rows and rows and rows of veterans buried there, but at the same time still didn't look half full. There was so much. And it's not a place where soldiers are just buried. That's where veterans, when they pass away, that's where they can be interred. And Grandma and Granddad were cremated, and it's a little weird. Grandma was supposed to be interred when she died, which was 2019, the beginning of July. Granddad decided on his own that he would hold on to her box and they would be buried together, which, is a sentiment, of course. I'm not really a burial person, or I'm not a cemetery person at all. That stuff's constantly weird to me. But he wanted them to be interred together, and interred means there was a. And I'll show the banks of holes. You really have to see it to get the gist of it. It's hard to explain. It's like lockers, but they're cement, and they have cement doors that are screwed shut. But they're like lockers that are like this big, and then run deep. And they didn't want ones beside each other. They wanted to be in the same one. Which is fine. The whole concept of burial is weird to begin with. Why push the narrative with how weird that is? But anyway, so they wanted to. So he said we'll be buried together, and then Granddad, of course, passed away in 2025. Well, because it was an appointment that was made for her to be interred. There was an entire thing that Mom had to do in order to reapply Grandma, because Granddad was scheduled to have that happen, but because Grandma's had lapsed, they had to go through the process again of just the paperwork. So that was annoying, and kind of something Granddad really didn't think about, which coming to the end of his life is kind of a common theme, if I'm honest. Like putting the double wide and the property in all four daughters' names rather than just one daughter, and then the daughter dispersing the funds that's a whole nother thing that was really, it's just the way they did it. And, by the time you learn that's not the way you do it, you've already set in your ways. So that's just the way you're going to do it. So, it was a whole lot of that down there. And it's going to be a whole lot of that again in the coming years for me, I think. Anywho. Bushnell is a vast, giant swath of cemetery for veterans and their spouses. And then they were interred on the Wednesday. My Uncle Chuck and Aunt Pam were there, which was nice. Very, very, very sad. Just very upset about the whole thing, which, is understandable. And then we decided we were just going to, since Bushnell is close to Clearwater, we just drove into Clearwater, my aunt, mother, and I, and just had a think beside the beach for a couple hours, which is, if you can, that seems like a great way to go think. You know what I mean? 5 minutes. All right, let's get this thing swirled. And then plopped. There we go. I came home to realizing I didn't properly wash out the Chemex, so we'll do the Chemex tomorrow. It needs a little bit of a soak. I may actually put it in the dishwasher. I don't know yet. But you know, as long as it was a really uneventful time, which I don't know if you could ask for anything better when it comes to funerals and interment and death and Florida in the wild. So, because we were all over the middle of it, basically. So, you know, we learned new parts of Ocala, and then, you know, we're never going back to Ocala. I'm glad we got to see the downtown area. We did spend some time in the downtown area of Ocala, which is kind of brand newish, full of a lot of parking, which is kind of nice. Also, quite a few one-way streets, but it's not a very large downtown area. It seems like it was just built for specific businesses and a place for people to go to eat. So lots of nice restaurants down there. I don't think we didn't really have a bad meal while we were down there. We even went to a Popeyes, you know, because my aunt was craving their red beans and rice, so we went to the red beans and rice place. That was even good. So we didn't really have anything bad down there at all. So, yeah, it was, ooh, wow, that filled that right up. That's going to be perfect. Coffee-wise, while I was down there, like I said, there was a badass coffee. We didn't get to go. The parking in Clearwater is ridiculous. I don't mind. I know a lot of people would, but I don't mind $20 to park all day in a parking garage in a place that's so sunny it can bake anything you've accidentally left sitting on a seat. You know what I mean? So $20 to park is not bad. But getting around down there after you do park is really ridiculous, especially with the heat. There's a lot up and down the road there that, you know, Tyra's like, ooh, that'd be fun to stop at. And I'm like, okay, we're going to walk there? And she says, I don't know if I want to walk there. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, we're parking, so. And then if you leave and then park in a place's parking lot, like, you know, there's those tchotchke cheap t-shirt shops that every beach town in Florida has. And so we stopped there so she could get a t-shirt. And if you park there, you can only shop there. If you park there and shop there and go somewhere else, they'll tow your car. It doesn't matter if you've bought something there or not. They will tow your car. That's the badass coffee was like across the street, and I'm like, I don't really want to leave the car because it might get towed because they're fast. They're very fast down there. So, but there's this wonderful place, and I don't remember the names, but I'll flash the names when I find them. There's a downtown had a wonderful coffee shop that had a wonderful cafe au lait that was awesome. Several different types of coffee to try. And some ice cream at gelato there. A lot of gelato shops. And then we went to Disney Springs. And tomorrow I'll show my pins that I bought. I bought a bunch of Stitch pins because they're amazing and adorable and hilarious. But there's this wonderful coffee place there that had these donuts. They're these wonderful, and they're not cake donuts. They're like a s'mores donut, which was a little disappointing because the cinnamon toast, well, no, it wasn't cinnamon toast crunch. It was the other one. The one with the ribs, the ones that look like cinnamon toast, Golden Grams. So they had the ribbed ones, Golden Grams. They had Golden Grams on it, and then I thought the marshmallow looked toasted, but it was powdered with some cocoa powder, which was disappointing. And then it was like just 2 raw marshmallows on top of a excessively sugary donut, and that was just not great. And then there was a Boston cream with Nutella in part of it, which was actually very good. I ate that. That was good. But the coffee was really great. They had a peppermint mocha there it was like, the only thing I ever crave at Starbucks ever is their peppermint mocha. And because of that, I didn't realize you can make a peppermint mocha kind of sweet with coffee that's not shitty bitter. And this place at Disney Springs on the way out towards the orange parking garage was amazing. It was the tastiest peppermint mocha I've ever had. It wasn't absurdly sweet because they were covering up the taste of the coffee. It was a wonderful peppermint, a nice sweetness, and then a delicious chocolate, and then you could actually taste how good the coffee was. So it was like one of those. So I'll pop the name of that up. I've completely forgotten the name of it, but I'll pop it up here. Yeah, I didn't take very many pictures, just because it was like, well, I mean, you go to Clearwater and you get all of the people, and then you get all of the seaweed, and it's like, yeah, this is not picturesque. I took pictures to show Matt, look at this mess, but otherwise, I really didn't take very many pictures of that kind of stuff down there. So, you know, I just felt like it wasn't a vacation. It was work, you know, going down, cleaning out Granddad's house, getting him, you know, interred or buried, or how, I mean, he wasn't buried. He was placed, he and Grandma were placed in a locker. So, and it sounds disrespectful, but to be honest, I really don't. It doesn't really matter. But it was just funny because they went into a locker, and it was super hot, and the sun was beating down, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is even more of a nightmare than previously expected, you know. Plus the size and the scope. We had to follow a dude for like 2 miles into the cemetery to where the nooks were, and then follow him back out because it's just that massive. It's a massive place, that National Cemetery is. Yeah. So, but we did everything we could. Everything we could was done. House was cleaned out. We didn't need to get rid of the furniture. The furniture could stay. And we cleaned that house out. It was, there may have been some Easter eggs left because it's like, you know what, we really don't want to throw this away, but at the same time, I'm not taking it back home. So, and Grandma was was Catholic, and she was a big John Paul II fan. Maybe it was just because he was the Pope, and they were supposed to be really into the Pope if you were Catholic. She had a lot of Pope stuff in the secondary bedroom, which I loved sleeping in. And then a lot of like Virgin Marys. But the thing was, the Virgin Marys were white, and they were holding white, blonde-haired baby Jesuses. So to me, even though I don't care about religious iconography at all, it was super easy to get rid of that. Oh, look, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. No problem. Yeah, like I said, we filled that dumpster up a little bit over 3/4 of the way full, and that was 2 queen-sized mattresses and their box springs as a base, and then everything on top of it. So it was pretty dramatic, and traumatic at the same time because of all the stuff. Oh God, I've missed that. I think I only had, other than the cafe au lait, which was just milk put in the coffee. Every other coffee I had has been sweet, which is not a terrible thing, but at the same time, having just a single origin Hawaiian, oh, that's so nice. I did miss that. So yeah, it was. We had a time. 10 days. The hotel we stayed at, Studio APT. In Ocala, it was off of 75 on Silver Springs Boulevard. Great place to stay. We liked it. It had a kitchenette. It had a full kitchen. It basically had a stove and an oven and a full sink and a full big refrigerator, cabinetry to put stuff in. No place to put your clothes if you're there for an extended stay. They didn't have any dressers, which was kind of weird. But that wasn't a big deal. We basically lived out of our suitcases anyway, but that's a really great place to stay. Reasonable price. I think the reasonable price is because I think it's brand spanking new. So look for that to rise in the next couple of years. Wow. They're building a clientele. What was it, I don't think it was 190. I want to say it was $109 a night or something like that. It was not expensive at all as far as hotels go. So, and it was fairly well placed. I don't think it was 2 miles from downtown. I'd say it was about 7 miles from Granddad's house. So, and anything over 10 miles in Ocala is a 25-30 minute drive because of just how the stoplights are and how the speed limits are. It's an absolutely ridiculous place. Sprawling, huge, flat city, just sprawling. But don't expect to get to the other side of town quickly. There's no cut-throughs, there's no outer belts. It's just a large city with a 35 to 45 mile per hour speed limit that not very many people followed. But if you're out of town, I'm not speeding. Plus, we were in no rush to get anywhere at any point. Everything was pretty clearly laid out. So we'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to do another coffee, talk a little bit more about anything that I might have missed. I've got a picture that I want to show, just like the juicer. I had it mailed here, so we'll probably do that tomorrow. And then next week, I'll be gone. It'll be, we'll leave on Tuesday and coming back on Sunday, going out to Vegas, a friend of mine and I. We might have enough time in the morning to do a coffee, but then I got to go get him and we got to go to the airport. So for our Southwest flight. Anywho, thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for subscribing. I don't think I'm going to do any streams until I get back. I had an idea. I found some of Granddad's VHS tapes. God, I'd say there's about 20 of them back from like 88 up through like 95, 97 of various things just around Florida. There's also some family stuff, and the family stuff are just stand-ups where it's just a camera pointing in one direction, and it's like pointing in one direction for the entire length of the tape. So that's boring shit. Except to me, because I get to see Grandma and hear her laugh again, which is really, really nice. But there's some stuff of Grandma wandering around Disney back in the early 90s and Universal back in the early 90s. And, I think they were trying to find their house at one point, and he found a house. I discovered that while I was looking through stuff. So we'll, maybe at some point we'll do those as an extra stream for funsies. But I'm watching the 7 Days to Die modders and seeing where they are at with all of their stuff. And then when we come back, not next week, but the following week, we'll start something in 7 days and see where it goes. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.